Greetings! Holding 70% possession of the ball should be possible, but now it's getting out of hand, and FIFA 21 is doomed, and for me it cannot be an enjoyable game without a very important feature, and that feature is what I often refer to as second man press. Now you might be thinking, Stallion, that feature is in the game, and you're right, yes, technically it is, but with how ineffective it is, it may as well not be. And then some of you might already be saying, not this again, Stallion. We already told you that. We don't like that feature. It's lazy, people use it to abuse it, and we do not need more AI defending. And this is where, if you think that way, I really wholeheartedly believe that you couldn't be more wrong. So just hear me out. If implemented correctly, second man press is not a nuisance. It's a tool that highly increases the skill gap. Contrary to popular belief, it doesn't add to AI defending, it actually increases manual pressing. All I ask is for you to watch this video where I want to show you what's wrong with what we have right now, why what we have is even worse than what you fear, and how I would personally solve it. Now first things first, this is what second man press looked like in an older FIFA title. I am this guy, and by holding my R1 button, as you can see, I'm able to tell one of my AI teammates to sprint towards the ball holder. This opens up an infinite amount of possibilities that allow you to manually press and create traps around the field. And I say manually because although the AI teammate being sent out is controlled and pushed by the AI, you can use that very systematically. To give you a very basic idea, because to show multiple examples I'd need hours of footage, this is a very basic example of how high level players used to use this feature to press high up the field, something that is basically impossible and useless now. So you would first start by running to the opponent's fullback with your winger or wide player, as I am right here. The key is to run at an angle to show you are a threat to intercept a potential pass down the line. At a certain point, you would switch to a more central player, hold down the second man press button to keep your winger running towards the ball holder, and then running towards his central option with your central player to close his other lane down. Again, this is a very basic application. The world is your oyster with this, but you can see here that it was a great tool to use against possession hoarders, put people under pressure, and especially try and make life more difficult for those who go up and down your box for what feels like 4 hours because they never pass forward until you move out of the way. And if you have played FIFA the past year or so, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because I know you hate it just as much as I do. That feeling that you know your opponent will keep passing between his two central midfielders until you finally rush out, because without second man press, more often than not, you cannot push out, cover a passing lane, and press the ball holder at the same time. That's why people wait. The power dynamic is completely and unfairly in the hands of the ball hoarder. And so you might be wondering, why would such a feature ever be nerfed to the ground to the point that you'd think it's not even in the game? Well, I never said it was perfect. It did used to be abused by people in this way. They would sit back in their box or around their box with a CDM and just hold the second man press button while playing drop back, and they'd make an AI teammate follow the ball holder. Now if you're here watching this video and looking at that and you're thinking, I told you, Stallion, the downsides of this feature are too big. Today people would just abuse it and drop back. First, here's what I've got to say. Let's not pretend like this feature was as overpowered as Team Press. It didn't always tackle for you, and even if it did, it can be fine-tuned not to do that. Secondly, the same people who tell me it was overpowered are the same people who tell me to just adapt to the current insane CPU pressing system that covers my whole team. So how about you just adapt to second man press, which is a far better feature. What aren't people abusing these days? Are people not already dropping back? Do you really believe they weren't going to drop back without it? Have we not just come off FIFA 20 with no second man press and a year full of drop back and low defensive line merchants? And because of them, people who could use it well and effectively and win the ball high up the pitch now have to be punished? But most importantly, I wholeheartedly believe that if tomorrow, for FIFA 21, EA decided to bring back second man press as it used to be in its good and its bad, including all the good things, including all its flaws, the game would instantly be miles and miles better, night and day. And if on top of that, they removed team press / constant pressure / press after possession loss and all that junk, the game would be even better. Now, what are all those things I just mentioned? Funny you ask, because that's what we actually have now to press. Things like team press or constant pressure are tools / defensive mentalities that are a single flick of a switch away from every single user. That's right, one switch, the player turns it on, and no matter what your skill level, you turn into the best pressing machine in the entire world. You see, second man press was very useful, but much easier to break out of. It was great, but my god, could you get cut open if you held it out of sheer panic and pushed out a defender without meaning to. But with defensive mentalities and things like team press, you could get absolutely embarrassed for an entire 70 minutes of a match, and with the flick of the switch, you can change the entire inertia of the game. I'm talking all of a sudden putting pressure on a player you don't even deserve to be on the same pitch with. I'm talking if San Marino was magically able to drink super juice and actually tie a game against Spain in a World Cup qualifier after finding themselves 3-0 down 70 minutes in. The comedy of the situation is that sometimes, keyword sometimes, the same people who say second man press is only abused and it adds to AI defending are the same people who sit there thinking that turning team press on and having 8, not 1, 8, again, not 1 like second man press, 8 AI controlled players mark every player in your opponent's team is totally okay. Because apparently one AI teammate pressing for you with second man press with a clear risk and reward factor is apparently bad for the game, but 8 AI teammates doing everything for you and absolutely crushing an opponent's hope of doing 3 straight passes is totally fine. That is the logic we are currently working with right now. Now, these examples are really important to illustrate what I'm talking about, because making manual defending a thing does not mean you have to remove second man press. It needs to be a feature implemented correctly. But before we get to how I would go about it, these examples speak for themselves. This is FIFA 20. Now tell me, how on God's green earth am I meant to defend this? My opponent is running at me with a faster player and I need to cover him as well as the center. Ideally, I would be able to select this guy, cover the middle, and while I do that, I hold second man press so that the ball holder can still be followed by one of my players. The reality is that I cannot do that, and as you can see, while I am forced to cover the middle, my opponent just runs by me because my teammate that was supposed to help me doesn't, because he can't, because second man press sucks. Does this look realistic to you? Isn't FIFA trying to be a simulation of football? Do people track back by casually jogging as someone on the wing flies past them? No, we need a tool to allow them to sprint back with us. Now, I'm not saying I need a perfect simulation. I've always said I think there's nuances. There are things that should be realistic and things that shouldn't. But I'm just saying EA is looking for a simulation, and this is what a tracking back player looks like. They are jogging. It is absolutely absurd, unacceptable, and it doesn't make defending manual. It just makes defending awful, unenjoyable, and most importantly, unfair. This is not a situation you can come out of and say, ah, damn, I should have done this better. You're at a complete disadvantage here because of the limitations of the game not giving you the tools to set manual traps and cover spaces with something that has to be in every football game. So how would I implement it to make it fair? Contrary to popular belief, these videos are very hard for me to make. I want to make content without worrying about what makes a game better. But for this video, I had to do it because it's a major flaw. And to be honest, I want to keep this as short as possible now. And while finding a fair way to implement this feature is important, I think it's more important, and I want to make it clear that adding it back, even with all its flaws, instantly improves the game. We should start with it back and then work toward tuning it. The game is not playable without it. I have some ideas as to how to tune it, but perhaps for now we'll leave it for another time. If you agree, please share this video. That's going to be it from me today, and as usual, let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.